So quickly think, perhaps we could do Skype. A screen is put up, and I go to my house, and we are both now talking on Skype. And someone read from a book a statement I made in the late 60s. And he was asking me a question about that statement. I also felt like I never said that. It's one of those things in the heat of the 60s, that I say that. Because I remember someone saying to me, do you remember saying that you are a combatant before you're an artist? Do you still hold the view? I said, when did I say that? I read it in the staff rider. But for me, I've just directed my play, Nothing But the Truth, in Cape Town in May. I was amazed at seeing other people speak the word and breathe into these imaginary characters I wrote.
So you didn't actually act?
No, I was not acting in it. There's 3 different actors. It's just when they breathe into it and give the characters their own identity. And because this play was never done before, I had the opportunity to create these characters for the first time with the actors. Because sometimes we are frustrated by the fact that doing the Richard III, people say, oh, I saw Laurence Olivier. I'm doing, I saw Marlon in the Desire. So-and-so done these great performances. So these actors are wonderful because they are the first creators of these characters. Blank slate, I see their faces, This is the line we talk about blank slate. We wish you remember it in the last, because the white girl says, can't we forget the past? Why black people hung up so much about the past? Why can't we just wipe the slate and begin afresh? And the black lady says, can I first see what was written on the slate before we wipe it clean? Can I talk about what was written on that slate before we wipe it clean so that both of us know what we must never do again? You know that?
That is so prescient because a lot of the debates at the moment on race relations revolves around white people saying, get over it. And black people saying, we can't get over it, it's painful. These things keep on happening and we can't just ignore it.
Right.
You can't possibly put yourself in our shoes, you can't just get over it. If we feel pain, we can't deny it.
She even says, that is part of the huge she even says, the lady called the lady in Missy, lady says, why are the Jews allowed to go on and on about the Holocaust? And we are not allowed to deal with 76. Just a few years ago. Why are you constantly asking us to move on? And then for me, the beautiful thing is that can't you wipe the slate and we move on? She says, can I read what was on the slate before we wipe it clean? So that I too can say, these are the things we should never do. And these things with the young actors who are trained, who interpret and who perform, and these plays were not written for performance in the context of study the role. It was written for actors to grapple with it and use the text and make an event takes place. It's storytelling. It's in monologues. It's in dialogue. It allows you to sit down and say to the audience, okay guys, switch the lights off, once upon a time. And that's what I'm trying to break, that fourth wall. That the actors on stage are dealing with an audience and they're telling the story.
So they're addressing the audience directly.
They're talking with the audience in the press. It's not necessarily selecting anybody, but they are aware of the other people on the other side.
Very strong storytelling element.
Are you taking any other particular approaches to the staging by John in terms of, overall stage, sets, lights, whatever? Is there, or is it quite
I
straightforward?
went with the marketers that put together for me,
I believe you
and
have an
all
all-female
women support technical team. All women. The designer, the lighting, the costume, all of them are women. In the set, it's just me and SB who plays the organ on rehearsals. And these women are even bringing their own contribution, because when I ask a set designer to design a set, I want them to read the script first, and then tell me what the play is about and where it comes from, the concept of the set. What do they think? Where is it situated? When the costume design and decor, also I say read the script. Read the script. Let's all read the script. Stage manager, read the script. So we can talk about the story together. Because as a performing artist, I'm an artist director. Once we grappled with the text, and then I work with telling the story. So the concept of the play is structured in, there's a monologue, and then there's a dialogue. Then there's a monologue, and then there's a dialogue. Now it is upon me, as my brother said, I'm giving you a pair of scissors.
Yes.
I'm giving you a pair of scissors. So the thing about it is to merge these monologues, that they interact. That it's not just one person this side and another person that side. And the new Many Men in Theatre, gives me the three sides, which allows the audience to be almost around you, almost to complete the circle around you. Meaning there will be moments you're telling the story, but that's main block, they see your back. But remember, these two sides see you from this side. Right. So you can do diagonals all the time. So you move the actors in diagonals. They keep swinging all the time. So that if that one is here, the other one is doing a monologue, there's a light for that one, but merge the monologue quickly to combine with that one. So that there is not monologue, there's a constant flow of the story in their telling, their own opening up to each other. Instead of I do my monologue facing there, you do your soliloquy. No, 10 soliloquies, let them talk to each other. Because it's written that if this one says, I was brought up to be somebody's wife. And before they can go on, the other one says, me too. My mother expected that how are you going to get a husband? You're such a lazy girl. You don't wash dishes, you don't clean the house. Who's going to marry you? And then you jump to the Afrikaans girl that says, I was even sent to a charm school to be taught how to smile, how to present, how to be a debutante, so that there's a man who's probably a business person who would marry me. Then when they says, I was even progressing, then the other one says, even in the army, we were in the support structures, because women give life. They cannot take it. That was the whole concept of the SADF. We were supposed to be the pinups to warm, and the other one said, in my army, it started like that. But there came a time that we had to go to the front as well.
So your staging kind of vision is to emphasize the commonalities.
The commonalities.
And not just the...
No, not the commonalities, and to find the issues that are common to both of them. Because anyway, one is African, one is Afrikaner. Yeah. And if Afrikaner is an Afrikaans interpretation of African, that's what it is.
And Razak, so you're going to be coming back for the opening, or are you here?
Unfortunately not. I'm leaving on Thursday. So
are you still teaching in Ohio?
Yes.
Okay.
So I will not be able to see it in its present, incarnation, yeah. I'll see it, I'm sure, some other, when it comes to life again,
I suppose someone will record it.
I would raise a hell and move the mountains for 3 performances in Ohio. So that he can see it. And we will be selfish for the first time. We don't do it because we're just doing it because we need to show the work to me off.
Right.
I'm going to get money from some of my friends who are very rich.
Uh-huh.
Some of my rich friends now are not just white, but black rich friends too.
Yeah.
And are you busy with any writing at the moment?
Well, I'm always writing, yeah. I'm writing a novel. Yeah. But after that novel, I'll be writing a play.
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you newly inspired to write another play?
Well, it's been in the offing for quite some time. It's just that I've been grappling with what kind of play it is going to be.
Yeah.
I've been having this story, you know. But, well, I mean, I can't talk about that now, but
Yeah.
that's what I've been grappling with. Because it can be any kind of play.
But are you newly inspired to write another play? I mean, your last one was, you haven't written a play for what, 15 years or so?
No, I wrote a play not so long time ago called Our Lady of Benoni,
Oh.
yes.
which was published before it was ever performed, and it's not been performed in South Africa here. Yeah. Because also, you know, it's not its time.
Yeah.
I think in 20 years' time,
Yeah.
it will be performed.
I'm going to find this.
That's the one about the that young girl in Benoni. Is that
Yes.
right? Yeah, who had these visions of.
Who had these visions, yes.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, it was published by Wits University Press.
Yeah.
Was only done in the United States so far, and has never been done anywhere else.
Interesting. It's almost like a progression from the Non-Kawuse story. You know, these young girls who fascinating. Sure. Yeah, I think.
I was in the middle of writing my next play. And I had to go do a movie in America, I had to go do this.
I saw you were in Captain America.
And this came, this project came at a time that I needed a break.
Yeah.
You know, because as I say, sometimes when I started in New Brighton in the 60s, I started as a storyteller.
Yeah.
Stand up and we tell stories. Created works with certain players in the 60s about our lives in the township. My idea of working with certain players in Afro-Fusion was to learn to write. Because I already had the African storytelling from it. But winning the Tony Award in 1975, I lost the writing completely. There are days sometimes then the actor in me bores me. I'm done with it now. I'm bored. I want to do something different. I mean, the offers are lined up longer than my arm. Can you do this play? Can you do this? Can you do this movie? I said, no, I'm right. And then came the opportunity to do the Dying Screams of the Moon. Welcomed break from my handwriting, because I write by hand. And
old-fashioned.
No, I'm not very good computer, very, very computer literate. So if I then write glad or happy and that thing underlines, it takes my focus off. I'm thinking, why are you underlining it? I've just spelled it G-L-A-D. Actually, I'm spelling it G-L-E-D. So it's underlining it. And then you write, nothing underlines, correct the spelling, the context of it. When I finish the draft, then I can correct those words. So I write that way.
And what are you busy writing at the moment?
I don't know. Really, honestly, I'm just fascinated by two characters. And I'm talking to them and working the story together. I'm at a point now that I can go do that. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do quickly the Dying Screams of the Moon. And I finish by mid-August. And then I told my agent in New York, I said, I'm not available until January. Because I want to put aside September to December. I'm not going to write for 4 months. At that time, anytime I feel like going back to the script, the story I go back to it, I do other things.
Yeah.
I should do a role that I haven't been very good at of late, husband and father, because I've been away too much.
Yeah.
So that September to December gives me the opportunity to catch up with family, to touch base.
Yeah.
So I could just...
I think it does help you to refresh your brain as well.
Yes.
You can actually tackle work again with fresh purpose. I mean,
Now, especially for us actors, actors could do one project and then one movie, one television, one this, right through, and you'll be doing the same thing for 6 years or 10 years in a row, playing with different human beings that haunt you when you sleep, and one of my worst nightmares is I'm able to leave my home and I know the performance starts at 8 and it's 10 to 8. And I don't know why I can't get in the car.
Right.
I don't know why, and that's my nightmare all the time. I'm on my way to the theatre and it's already 10 to 8 and I'm nervous I'm not going to make the performance. Or if I arrive in the theatre, I don't know what play they're doing. That's when I think, nah, stop now. You need a break. I need to dream about ancestors and other people in the sea and my mom. That's when my mind is clear.
Right.